Hey guys, this is John from US Dash Camera. Today I got a review on the new B2W dual lens dash camera from Blueskysea. Now if you watched my channel, you'd probably know I have reviewed the Blueskysea B1W, which was a single channel camera, and it is one of my favorite budget cameras. Now while I did purchase the B1W with my own money, this one was sent to me for review by Blueskysea. They did reach out to me on dashcamtalk.com and asked if I wanted to review it, so I said sure. This camera is going to have full HD 1080p in the front and rear, which is pretty good. It does use Sony Sony Starvis IMX307 image sensors, so those are pretty good. It does use a super capacitor, which that was one of the features of the B1W a lot of people liked. For such a cheap camera, having a super capacitor is nice because a lot of the cheaper ones just use batteries. Now the issue with batteries in dash cameras is they can overheat and they could potentially pop open or leak battery acid and ruin your camera, and that has happened to me in the past before with a battery-based dash camera, so it's something that a lot of people look for in a dash camera. The rear camera does have infrared lights on it, so when it's dark you will be able to see inside of your car, even in pitch black conditions. Like the B1W, this camera again does have voice alerts, so for example, if you forgot to put the memory card in or supposedly has memory card errors, it will alert you.
Please insert SD card.
Now the issue I found though is I have 3 different bad memory cards. I tried using all 3 of my bad memory cards and it didn't detect any issue with any of them. Now in the past I did try testing them in several other cameras, so when I did test it in several other cameras that were supposed to detect memory card errors, like the Vifo A129, that camera and several other cameras also didn't detect issues with some of them, but they did for at least one of them. Now the reason I know that the cards aren't good is you can't format them and you can't save or delete files, you can't make any changes to it, they're just defective now. But it is still nice that it has some audio alerts. One awesome feature about this camera is it does support up to 400 gigabyte memory cards. That's pretty big. Now it's going to include quite a few different accessories. What I really like about this camera is it does include a adhesive mount, so it's going to be obviously the ideal permanent mount solution, but it does also come with a suction cup mount. Now this was a pre-production model, so the suction cup mount that came with this camera that Blueskysea sent me is not the one you're going to get when you purchase this camera. The one that comes with the production model will be much smaller and sleeker. But again, I like that it has both an adhesive mount and a suction cup mount. Of course, you're going to get the standard 12-volt power cord, so when your car starts up, it'll turn on the camera and it'll start recording, and when your car turns off, it'll stop recording. And this camera does have an optional hardwiring kit, and with this you will get a parking mode feature. Now the issue with this is it's not a buffered parking mode like Vifo's newer parking mode or any of the high-end Korean dash cameras. So I tested it, and when I hit the camera and was using a timer in front of the camera, it said it took about a little over 6 seconds to start recording, but I think I actually started recording about a second late, so I would expect about 7-second delay from when the camera is hit to the point it starts recording. So it's not the best parking mode because you're not actually capturing the incident, but hopefully if a driver hit and runs you in a parking lot, maybe they'll get out and inspect the damage, and if they drive off, that's pretty clear evidence that they were the ones that hit your car, I think. Some people might disagree with that. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below if you think this kind of parking mode is good enough to give you evidence for showing someone's at fault. So the menu on this camera is pretty basic. It's a pretty standard menu like you will see in a lot of different Chinese dash cameras. The sounds, the colors, just the text, it's all the same as a lot of generic dash cameras. But this camera does also have built-in Wi-Fi, like I mentioned the B1W did, which was awesome for such an affordable camera. And what's strange Those currently right now it does use a third-party Wi-Fi app called Roadcam, and I don't know how soon official app is going to come out because they did make their own B1W app in the past. Now with the Wi-Fi app you're going to be able to view live feed, and this will help you set your angle or the angle of the camera so you're getting the best picture possible. Of course you can watch files wirelessly and save them to your phone if you need to save an important file. You can also change some of the settings, but you're not going to find all of the settings as you will in the main menu on the actual camera. So this camera is definitely an interesting camera. It's got quite a unique design. It still does have a usable screen, which is nice, and of course the standard buttons along the bottom of the screen. On one side we have the memory card port and the reset switch. On the other side we got the microphone, GPS input, and a power port. So it is worth pointing out GPS is optional on this camera, but it is not built in. So that is something to consider if you do want GPS. What I really like about this camera is while the front and rear cameras are always going to have to be perfectly level, otherwise one will be pointing down and the other will be pointing up. Since they can twist, I really like that if you don't have the camera perfectly center, you can twist one of them to get a better picture, and that way you're not cutting off this edge of the screen or anything. I also do really like the giant lock button on the top. I think it is good for people like Uber drivers. Now when it comes to the video quality, I would think most people are going to say it's okay. It's nothing extraordinary, but you have to keep in mind that this is sort of a budget camera. I have said in the past I consider budget cameras under $100 and affordable cameras in the $100 to $200 range. So by my own definition I'd say this is an affordable camera, not so much a budget camera. I did review the Blueskysea Trace 1, I believe it was called, which I believe was $85 or $95. Also a dual channel camera like this, but it didn't have Wi-Fi. It didn't have as many unique features that this camera has, so it's not surprising that that camera was cheaper. Now again, with the video quality, the front camera is going to be recording in 16 megabits per second, while the rear is only 8 megabits per second. But to be fair, the rear camera doesn't really need to be a very high bit rate. It's not capturing fast motion or anything. Now the rear camera during the day, of course, looks good. There's no issues there. During the night, of course, most cameras have a little bit more issue at night. I'd say this camera looks okay again, but definitely not on the high end when it comes to night quality. It does look more pixelated than I was hoping for, but it's not out of my expectations for what a camera in this price range would be with dual front and rear 1080p. The rear camera at night does its job. You're not going to get a crazy amount of detail in pitch black conditions, but it's enough to see what happens in your car. So maybe you have a drunk, unruly passenger in your car while you're driving for Uber. It's going to show you everything that you need to see. So in conclusion, guys, I think this camera, if you're an Uber or Lyft driver and you're looking for a camera that can record inside of your car while you're working, it's definitely one to check out. There's several different options out there, like the Blueskysea Trace 1. Anker also has a new Uber style camera that's out. I've had it for over a month and a half now. I just haven't gotten around to the review. At about the same price as this one. Now this camera, I believe they said it's $140, not including a hardwiring kit or GPS. I believe both of those are options. So for $140 you get a dual 1080p Uber style camera with IR rear light and a Wi-Fi option, which is pretty cool. The Anker camera is about the same price but does not have Wi-Fi, so I think this camera, when you're looking at some of the competition, is a better value. Some people are also going to compare this to the Viafo A129IR model, and I'll say that there's pros and cons between this camera and that camera. This camera is much easier to install. You just put it up on the suction cup mount or adhesive mount and you're pretty much good to go. The problem with the A129 is The rear camera is pretty big. You do have to place it separate somewhere. That's going to be a pro to some people, that you can put the rear camera, IR camera, somewhere more hidden if you don't want it to be seen, or just separate from the front camera in general. That can give you more versatility, but some people might want something more simple like this. But again, there's a lot of these Uber style cameras now, and you're really going to have to check out the features of each one, see which ones you prefer, if the video quality is good enough for you, and then make a decision from there. So what do you guys think of this camera? Let me know down in the comments. Do you think it's better or worse than any of the other competition for these IR Uber style dash cameras? If you are interested in purchasing this, I'll post links down in the description. So I hope this video was helpful for you guys. If you enjoyed it, or if it was helpful, I'd appreciate if you hit like and subscribe. I got that Anchor Uber camera review coming out pretty soon, so look out for that. So as usual, drive safe, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.